Good morning. It is 6:41 a.m. on Friday, April 7th, 2017. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, we recorded talking about Survivor last night. For the first time this season, we're back on the intended normal weekly schedule for that, so that felt good. And it was an interesting episode, too, although there was a moment during it where I got notified in a sort of indirect, obscure way that, oh, the president just sent missiles into Syria, and that's all of the information I had, and then I had to try to refocus my attention on Survivor without getting into that because we were doing a live recording. And so I don't really want to talk anymore about that because it's too complicated and brain early not think good. But in any case, what I do want to talk about today is Tales from the Yawning Portal. This is the newest Dungeons & Dragons official Wizards of the Coast product, freshly out this week. And my mom got it for me for my birthday. Which is Saturday, incidentally. Not that I'm like making a big deal about it, just so that anyone watching this who heard me mention birthday and then was just going to immediately say, well, but when is it? Is it today? I don't know. Anyway. So what this book is that it takes 7 adventures that had been previously published under past editions of the game and repurposes them, reorganizes them, represents them in a way that they have been adapted for the current edition of the game's rules. And it's a neat idea, and so I'm excited to read it. I've only read the first one of 7 so far, which is The Sunless Citadel. And it's really interesting, but one of the things that struck me while reading it is that while there's a lot of cool stuff in there, the focus is definitely more on, like, there's a lot of stuff in this particular dungeon that is kind of just there to be there, or where just kind of random treasure, random loot seems to be the success. Now, the overall dungeon has its own sort of plot through line and gives you a couple of good hooks that you can use to keep the motivation to continue through this dungeon, keep that on a story character motivation basis, which I appreciate. But there are definitely portions of it where, like, oh, to get in this one room, you really have to kind of be going through a lot of mini tasks and dealing with a lot of different areas just to kind of get in a room that ultimately just has loot in it and no real story significance. But then again, so I'm kind of two minds about that, because in my limited experience so far with Dungeons & Dragons, I mean, I'm loving it. I'm having a great time doing the DMing on so many levels, and the couple of other sessions that I've played. Definitely I gravitate to the more roleplay and story-focused elements. And so as I read through this adventure in this book, what I'm thinking about is the fun drama of, there's a mad druid who's kind of studying and worshiping the Goliath tree, which is a tree where the stake used to kill a vampire sprouted underground and has become this evil magic tree and stuff like that. And one of the adventure hooks is that a different set of adventurers had gone into this place and then not come out, and now their relatives are paying the party a bounty, or like offering reward if they find what became of them. And like that's the part that sort of draws me in more. But there are definitely big chunks of the dungeon that are all about just like, oh, well, yeah, if you make it through past all these traps and deal with these guys over here, and then you get into there and then solve this riddle, then you get to where there's a sarcophagus with a bunch of gemstones in it. And like that just reminds me like what I've been told about earlier editions of the game is that they were much more focused on the idea that you go into the dungeon and you get loot, and that's the game. And feeling out my own balance for so many levels, I think, is very much inspired by podcasts like The Adventure Zone and videos like Critical Role, where it's much more of a collaborative storytelling exercise than something more like a video game where you like, no, what it is you fight enemies and you get loot, and that's what the game is. But it is a reminder that that's how it works for a lot of people. That's what they like, and it's just interesting to reflect on the many variations that the game can take. In any event, I don't know if I'm going to be planning to run these exact adventures from this book anytime soon, but certainly I enjoy reading them because they give me ideas. So, but I'll leave it there for now. I've got to get ready for work. I got stuff to do today, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.